This is Edmund Burke, an Irishman who was a member of British Parliament during the Revolutionary War. He was actually on America's side during the Revolution, so you gotta like him if only for that. In a famous speech on American taxation in April 1774, he famously stated that no body of men should be argued into slavery. He's also famous as a conservative thinker, still respected among conservatives today. But Burke had this idea that society was divided into 4 estates, and he used this illustration of estates to describe the power of the press. He called these estates of the realm. The first one was clergy, right? Remember, this is still the late 1800s. The bishops and abbots and other members of the clergy are still very powerful at that time period. There are also dukes and earls and other nobility who had power. Behind them you have your lower level leaders, commoners and so forth and so on. But when reporters and press came into Parliament, Burke mentioned a new 4th estate, which he said was more important by far than the others. The 4th estate was Burke's reminder that mass media help shape political issues, because basically they have the power to provide a check on the people who are in charge. Some would argue that in the online world there's now a 5th estate. Bloggers and others who are online are a check on the press themselves. And there is tension among government and media outlets as well. Government wants to protect people, but they also want to protect themselves. And media want freedom to exercise First Amendment rights to say and show what they want. I said all that to say, the U.S. Constitution assumes an adversarial relationship between government and the press. And when I've used this term in the past, sometimes it's helpful to clarify exactly what adversarial means. It's worth noting that adversary, just means that they are not friendly. If you read the Bible, right, you know that Satan sometimes is referred to as the adversary. The point is not to say that the press or the media are satanic, only that they and the government are not friendly. They can work together sometimes, but they are not meant to be friends. And the government knows this, and that's why, on a daily basis, they are putting out their own messages to the people. The government spends billions of dollars, taxpayer dollars, seeking to get its messages to you. Messages that essentially say the government understands your needs and is doing the best it can to protect you and look out for you. Every day, press releases, interviews, and in the give and take between people like Jen Psaki, who you see there, and media, the government is doing its best to persuade you that it is working hard for you. The government does this because it wants you to feel good about government, right? And because it's about power. To gain power, you have to look good. It's about setting the agenda, right? Deciding the topics we'll talk about as a society. And it's about looking as good as you can on television when it's being covered by sometimes hostile media. You're looking at Donald Trump's initial announcement for president in 2015. He was running for president in the 2016 election. He made the announcement in 2015. Most people already know this, but of course, Trump and his people were media savvy enough to basically plant people in the audience who would cheer him and be friendly to him. I think some media who covered the event located some of the people in the audience and said that they were essentially stopped on the street and told that they could come in, right? And would be paid to cheer when they at the appointed times. This may or may not bother you, but it's an effort to attract media attention and get media to focus on the message and the positive reception. It also keeps protests or anybody who might be negative towards Trump out of the limelight. It's about controlling the message. By the way, lest you think I'm being partisan, Barack Obama, as president, was criticized because, and he didn't invent this practice, but they eventually had to stop it because they were criticized for it, because basically the presidents had a habit of staging photos of announcements after the actual announcement. What you see here is Obama announcing the death of Osama bin Laden. He made the statement for TV, and then he walked out again and read the first 30 seconds for photos. Presidents have done this for years, controlling images and make it easier for the president to speak. The Huffington Post explained the role of the official White House photographer is to show the president in a good light. For example, if the president were to shed a tear or get visibly angry during a speech, it might make a great news photo, but not one that the White House staff would want to circulate itself. After some people criticized them, the White House actually said they would stop doing that. But this is, the point is that it's about looking good, even when it's sometimes not real. Look carefully at this photo of the U.S. House Women's Democratic Caucus. You may see more people appearing in the official photo, which you see there, than people who were in the actual photo. Photoshop is powerful, but it can be troublesome when there's more than meets the eye. It's also a good idea to control the source of information. For the record, I bring this up because it's not just national governments who do this. Nearly all levels of government do this, including the government here at home. Note that Kentucky State has a very specific policy for media credentials, media requests, and social media. If you are an athlete at the university, you know this, right? If a media member were to approach you and ask for a story, I'm sure you have been told that you are not to do any interviews unless unless there's a member of the media relations staff that is present for the interview. You can also do what's called you can also trumpet good news and hide bad news. This is fairly common in government and really at all levels. This is what's called a Friday news dump. You put out bad news at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon when people are least likely to be paying attention. Usually on the weekends, that's when a lot of bad news breaks, or right before holidays. Another way to do this is to control information flow, right? The White House drew some criticism for revoking press credentials for a CNN reporter after he had a confrontation with the president during a press conference. Court eventually ruled they could not do that because the White House is a government building and government buildings are subject to more stringent laws. But it's not uncommon in sports, for example, for organizations to attempt to revoke credentials of reporters they feel have been too critical of them in the past, that kind of thing. And we can do this in terms of the way we put out official photos. See any differences between the first photo on the left and the photo on the right? Try again. Wisconsin's interested in showing off its diversity, right? And your last thing is the last thing you can do is attack the message.
Dealing with the press a long time. I think the political press is among the most dishonest people that I've ever met. The people don't trust you, and the people don't trust the media.
She starts asking me all sorts of ridiculous questions, and, you know, you could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
I have the right to ask the question.
No, you don't.
This is the question.
You haven't been called.
No, I have the right to ask the question.
Go back to your
This is
position.
no.
And he stood up and started ranting and raving like a madman. He was totally, absolutely out of line.
Donald Trump under fire again, this time for seeming to mock a reporter's disability.
The poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. The mainstream media, these people back here, they're the worst. They are so dishonest. No, they're so dishonest. And by the way, some of the media is terrific, but most of it, 70%, 75%, is absolute dishonest, absolute scum. Remember that, scum. They're totally dishonest people. She's back there, little Katie, she's back there. What a lie it was. What a lie. Katie Tur. What a lie it was from NBC to have written that was a total lie.
But let me tell you about the Wall Street Journal. I have no respect whatsoever for the Wall Street Journal. I don't think they know what they're doing. They have taken me on so much. It's so ridiculous. Every day editorials, bad editorials. I don't even want to read it very much anymore. They are so wrong. We're going to open up those libel laws so that when the New York Times writes a hit piece, which is a total disgrace, or when the Washington Post, which is there for other reasons, writes a hit piece, we can sue them and win money. By the way, the world's most dishonest people are back there. Look at all the cameras going. Look at all those cameras. Unbelievable. They are dishonest. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them.
I'm not looking for credit, but what I don't want is when I raise millions of dollars, have people say, like this sleazy guy right over here from ABC. He's a sleaze in my book. You're a sleaze because you know the facts, and you know the facts well. It was very unfair that the press treated us so badly. Go ahead.